We are here today to talk about the power of the Paralympic movement and more specifically the power of sport. What has been the biggest, the most powerful aspect of sport in your life?
As a young guy, one of my best friends, we were living in Vail at the time, young ski bums out of college, taking a year off, and one of my best friends was paralyzed in a ski accident and broke his back. And he decided to get back on a sit ski and became great and made the U.S. disabled ski team. And I saw what a powerful impact that had on his life. We were following his races and we realized that the U.S. ski team and the disabled team was going to be out of money. And we needed to raise some money quickly. We started this event called Adaptive Spirit and raised enough money to keep them afloat. And that, fast forward 23 years, we've raised almost $20 million for now the U.S. Alpine, U.S. Nordic and snowboard teams, and are their biggest supporters. And I just saw the power of sport through him, my friend, and we've been on this journey together.
Sport in so many ways literally did save my life. I didn't know I could be competitive in it because I was missing legs. It was an outlet for me to kind of release everything that I was feeling. Sport has helped me change the way I perceive myself when I look in the mirror, and it helps me realize that I'm not just inspirational because I'm getting out of bed or getting gas in the car. I'm living my dream.
I think that is the power that obviously you guys have showcased just here alone in competition. I mean, what is possible?
Oksana Masters, and she's a first-time gold medal winner at the Paralympic Games.
You pushed yourself through a race that morning you didn't even know if you were going to be able to do, and you came away a Paralympic gold medalist. That in itself encapsulates the power of the movement. Dwayne, what has that power of sport done for you in your life moving forward over the years?
Well, as you say, coming from that perception I have of sit in a corner and wait to die with a disability, to then encountering some of the most amazing opportunities and experience through sport, to be able to pave that way and create that platform. That's what world records are about. In various countries, athletes are now seen as household names. That's the legacy that our athletes are leaving.
And Jamie, you have always been an athlete, but you didn't get introduced to Paralympic sport until 2011. What has the power of sport been for you in your life?
From the moment I realized, I had a prosthetic leg as a young kid, all the way through playing able-bodied sports in high school and eventually making my way out to University of Denver, where I was actually awarded a scholarship for academics and skiing. It's changed my entire life. Without sports, I would have never been able to be at University of Denver and take the winters off to go ski with the national team and travel and train and race around the globe. It's been just a phenomenal experience that I would have never got to experience.
And Oksana, what was your exposure point into Paralympic sport?
Honestly, at first I didn't want to do a adapted kind of sport just because I was like, why do I have to make it an adaptive? Why can't I just do what everyone else is doing? And then somebody approached me in 2007 about, you should go to the Paralympics. You're really young and you have a really bright future. And I'm like, what's the Paralympics? I've never heard of it. And I Googled it and I'm like, the idea of wearing a flag on your back or representing your country, I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. And I'm really competitive at heart. So when I found out about it and qualified in 2012, that's where my whole Paralympic experience just kind of exploded and realized how much I loved it, and that's what I was supposed to be doing.
And Dwayne, former athlete, but now vice president of the International Paralympic Committee, where did your first exposure to Paralympics come into play?
I experienced one of those life-changing occasions where, coming up in an able-bodied world swimmer, triathlete, I had a benign spinal tumour removed, and it's one of those things, you've gone from a world where people judge you on what they think you can do to a world where they judge you on what you can no longer do. My coach and I found Paralympic sport, found swimming, and had an amazing experience.
How did sport change that perception for not only yourself of what was possible, but for the community around you for what was possible?
Yeah, I think for me initially it was, how do I change my own perception of, what can I now do? That changing of societal perceptions is a byproduct of what our athletes do through sport. And they see athletes achieving the seemingly impossible.
And Jamie, you skied on your varsity ski team in high school. You had your amputation at a very, very, very young age. Was this just always your normal? Did you ever see yourself as different?
No, so because my amputation was when I was 6 months old, I've really never known any different. I've always been a very positive person and really always considered my prosthetic and what I have of a leg just part of who I am. I remember in preschool and kindergarten and walking around like, where are all these other kids with cool legs and stuff like that. But overall, I think it really shaped me into the person I am today. When I went out and did sports for the first time, my attitude was, okay, I want to beat all these other kids and show them that I can beat them and I don't even have a right leg. So I thought that would be a pretty cool mentality to have. And that's what I set out to do, and I think that's what I've been able to achieve over the last several years.
Here comes Stanton to the finish line, bronze medal.
Dwayne, I'll go with you. Where do you think the most growth in Paralympic sport has happened in most recent years?
I think the growth is, it's come from a number of games. I think that probably one of the catalysts for changes was Sydney in 2000. The Festival of Sport, there was the Olympics and the Paralympic Games. I think the next significant change was in London, where from a media perspective, not just in the UK but around the world, the media interest in Paralympic sport had significantly grown. And then we also saw something I believe quite unique in Sochi. For Russia, they created Sochi as a barrier-free city. That was the whole concept of the Paralympic Games coming to Sochi, was barrier-free. And so they went to a lot of effort to become barrier-free. And that now serves as a blueprint for 700 cities in Russia. That was a catalyst for change in a significant country. And Rio had its challenges, but we also saw, I witnessed a young child with an impairment, first time they'd ever come out of their house. That changes lives.
And from the athlete perspective for you, Oksana, what's the greatest change that you've seen from 2012 to 2018?
The support and interest through sponsors for Paralympic athletes. Now more and more companies are realizing how powerful the Paralympic movement is. It's like the epitome of never quitting. And through that and through more media coverage and more televising of the Paralympic Games, if there's one little girl or little boy who's going through a recent amputation or is recently in a wheelchair, had a life-changing experience, they can turn on TV, watch the Paralympics and see these athletes, somebody they can relate to, someone that's just like them, and then that is a huge stepping stone, I think.
The profile of the athletes is raised so much. I mean, when Jamie and Oksana come to our event, they are rock stars. I couldn't go anywhere without seeing you on a visa board everywhere. It's pretty cool.
So as we move from games to games, and as you see that 2-year gap that goes through, how do you, Dwayne, and how do your colleagues at the IPC, how do you look to carry the momentum from each games?
Yeah, it's a great point, and it is a challenge as to how do you keep that momentum and interest in sport. But in some ways that's the uniqueness and the excitement that goes with the games, because it is every 2 years.
And Steve, with your work with Adaptive Spirit, you guys have raised a lot of money in terms of building and helping grow the Paralympic movement in the United States, but even the development programs, the grassroots support. How important is that in this growth factor for the Paralympic movement as an entirety?
So we tell our stories to people that are pretty good storytellers, NBC being a good partner of ours, and it has changed their perception on the commercial value of the movement, which is important for our sponsors, because see, by partnering with an athlete, there's a real return on that investment for the company and the athletes.
Televising our Paralympics here in PyeongChang, people get to see you cross that finish line, like seeing is believing, and it doesn't matter how you're doing it.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time today. I'm really looking forward to everything that is to come for all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.